The $1,000,000 question. How do men find a good woman? They think there are still good ones out there somewhere. How do they tell? How do they know? How do they vet them? Well, it is the $1,000,000 question, and pun intended, because what are they trying to avoid? Gold diggers, right? Women that are just looking for a wallet, a meal ticket, a retirement plan. How do they vet women to make sure that's not it? Well, some men are, and they've got a test that they're giving women. The women call it a trick. Does it work? Is it a trick? We're going to find out today. Welcome back to Far From Eden. I think it's good that you guys are actively vetting them. I don't think it's safe, but it's kind of like you're wanting to swim in shark infested waters. And I'm like, don't go in those waters. There are sharks. It's shark infested. And you guys are like, well, they're not all aggressive. Some just don't care and swim around you. Some people go, swimming with sharks on purpose. So it's fine. Does that sound like a good idea to you? Because it does not sound like a good idea to me. And of course, in this analogy, the women are the sharks are the women. So I'm in there like, okay, well, they're just determined to do it. So I guess I'm like, well, if one approaches you, don't splash and punch it in the nose. These are all things you're supposed to do if you see a shark. Anyway, that's what I feel like I'm doing. So we're going to analyze this test that the men are doing. And I'm going to tell you what I think about it, because I don't think it is the ultimate way to figure out a woman's intentions. So this was published on June 15th, 2025. So, about a little over a week ago in news.com, Australia. And from what I have heard, Australia celebrates feminism a lot. I have heard that it is very interesting down there trying to deal with the lady folk. Rob Cat is our Aussie in the chat, so he can let us know a little bit about that, probably. And any other of you Australians, let me know what's like down there. So it was written by Eleanor Wicklund. Gold digger tests. The new way men are tricking women on dates. So right away, we have the slant. It's right out there. It's definitely the slant that this is perpetrated on us. That you're tricking us. I thought that we were strong and independent and so smart, smarter than men even. I thought that was true. How is it so easy to trick us? A troubling new dating trend is on the rise that sees men trick women to find out if they're just after money. A growing number of people in the dating world are reporting a troubling new phenomenon known as gold digger tests. Notice she said a growing number of people. No, it's a growing number of women, because women aren't testing this on men. It's funny. Growing number of people in the dating world are reporting a troubling new phenomenon known as gold digger tests. Deliberate situations where one person gauges the other's financial intentions by unexpectedly making them pay or setting traps to see if they're more interested in money than a genuine connection. Georgina, 27, from Melbourne, recalls a bizarre experience on a recent date. Quote, "I've been on a few dates with a guy and things were going okay. He'd cover dinner, I'd grab drinks, she tells news.com Australia. Quote, but one evening, he invited me out for a casual frozen yogurt date. When it came time to weigh the yogurts, he rushed ahead to pay for his while I was still mid-chocolate drizzle. I was shocked, having to awkwardly weigh and pay for mine just moments later while he hovered next to me. We ate in silence. He acted like nothing had happened and kept asking me out after that. Okay. The way she says all this, he rushed ahead of me and then he hovered. No, he went ahead and paid for his yogurt and then politely waited for you to pay for yours so you could both go sit down and have a conversation over your delicious frozen yogurt. The way it's framed and the descriptive terms that they use, if you don't know that this is propaganda and that you're being fed a narrative, you don't pick up on that. You just imagine it in your mind, and you automatically see the man in the light that she wants you to. It portrays her as a victim. They're having frozen yogurt. He just paid for his. Like, it's not a big deal. Here's the thing, and I want you guys to hear this. If she wasn't a gold digger, she wouldn't frame it in this way. I'll tell you how it would go if she wasn't a gold digger. They're getting frozen yogurt. He goes and pays for his. She then goes and pays for hers. They sit down. And there's no story to tell. There's no awkwardly, there's no hovering, there's no any of that. There'd just be like, we went out for frozen yogurt. There's no story. The fact that she was, sort of offended by this situation and felt tricked by this situation reveals, because the only way you can actually be tricked is if you're guilty of the thing that they're trying to find out. So I hope that the man in this situation was paying close attention to all of her micro expressions and not just, well, then she paid for hers, so we're good. And she didn't yell at me. The fact that they just sat there quietly and he just kept asking her out on dates, dude. No, she was awkward about all of it. Just heard Lola. Oh, she was awkward about all of it and silent. She was mad. Don't keep asking her out. Sometimes you guys are searching for a red flag and you think, oh, she paid for hers and she didn't yell at me or whatever. So you think, oh, she passed that test. No, she didn't. And don't think for 1 second, and we're going to talk about more of these examples, but I just want you as we go forward to think about these things from the woman brain point of view. Don't think for 1 second that she doesn't know what you're doing. We are good at manipulation. This whole idea that men manipulate women and, get us to do things and this, that, and the other and trick us. And oh my gosh, I don't think that's true. I think we say it, but I don't think it's true. I think this is a micro example of that with the frozen yogurt. She's like, oh, I had to pay for my frozen yogurt. It was like, trauma. But she sees that this is intentional. They know you're trying to gauge something about them. They know. That's why she didn't say anything. She knows. That's why she's mad. She's not mad because she had to pay for her yogurt. You understand? She's mad because she knows this was a test. They know. And they get mad about it because they would fail. They really are failing. They just are too savvy to show you. Just want you guys to know that when you're out there trying to vet these women, this is actually what we're good at. So, anyway, let's keep going. Quote, he has a good job. So it's honestly so strange to me to do that over a $6 yogurt. Girl, you know what he was doing. That's why you're mad. Her experience is far from unique. Across social media and dating forums, more people are sharing similar stories. People or women? One 29-year-old woman detailed her unsettling encounter on Reddit. Set up by a mutual friend, she met a 31-year-old man at a cafe. Quote, it actually started really well, she wrote. We had a lot in common, great conversation, and I was feeling positive. But when the $100 check arrived, the tone shifted. Sorry. The tone. You guys know. It's all about the tone. She was prepared to split the bill, but was instead handed the entire amount and asked, is it all right if you pay for this? Based. Good job. You guys know I am all about actual traditional roles, not 1950s. That was soft life for women. I mean, 1850s, actual, like you're going to grow a garden and you're going to work as a woman. There's always something to do, etc. But here's the thing about this. He was like, hey, do you mind picking this up? Well, of course, because that is commonplace for the man. The man, we're supposed to be equal, right? We're supposed to be equal in this day and age. So if we're equal, we should be equal. So men are totally expected to pick up a bill. And if they get offended by that, women would the whole of society would think that they're, evil. He wanted to see her reaction. It's not about like, will she pay for it? Will she put the money down? It's what is her reaction when he asks her? What is her reaction when he asks her to contribute? Not just for herself, but for the both of them. Because as you know, men are like, I don't care about her career because that's her money. She's never going to share it with me. Well, this is a good kind of way to get into vetting for that. Mm-hmm. So he asks, is it all right if you pay for this? She said she was caught off guard, but unbothered by the amount, she agreed. Yeah, she's a girl boss. Like $100 doesn't bother me. Caught off guard. Again, she's not, if she likes you and wants to get you down the aisle, she's not going to make a fuss. It is not difficult for a woman to pretend like it's cool, and get you down the aisle. And it's like, gotcha. Right? Because now you can't get out of it. Now she can make demands. It's all fun and games until the contract is signed. I know some of you guys are like, well, how do we find out then? How are we supposed to find out? And I will get to that in after we take care of these stories. Quote, right after I paid, he grinned and said, congratulations, you passed the test. You're not a gold digger, she recalled. Don't do that. Don't give it away. There's more to test for. One test, it doesn't mean you've passed the course or gotten your diploma, right? You answered a question right. Doesn't mean anything. When she probed him about this comment, he admitted he'd been burned before by an ex who expected him to foot every bill. Now he tests women to ensure they're not after his money. Christine Rafe, hanky-panky and relationship expert for Womanizer. I'm sure she is unbiased. sees this trend as symptomatic of broader cultural shifts. Of course, of course. Quote, the rise of gold digger tests reflects the growing gender divide and rhetoric on social media and alpha male podcasters, of course, suggesting heterosexual women only want the top 10% of socially, financially, and physically attractive men, she explains. It is shown on dating apps. It is legit. That's legitimate. Those are legitimate statistics. That is exactly what is happening. Side note, I have to be careful how I word this. So in the city of Atlanta, right, there is growth in a particular ailment. It is the same ailment that Magic Johnson suffered from. It's growing exponentially. And it's growing the most in a certain demographic of women. Women. Why? It can only be one thing. They're all having the hanky-panky with the same men. The top 10%. And it can be, from 4s to 10s because, if it's a slow night or whatever. So the other thing is how many women will report that they're single versus how many men that will report that they're single. More men report they're single, more women report they're in a relationship. That's because a bunch of the women are in situationships with fewer of the men. But this lady's going to say it's alpha male podcasters that are claiming this. Sure, it's the whatever podcast. It just makes it up, right? Brian Atlas is just making it up for content. They're not going to talk about him. They'll probably talk about Andrew Tate instead because he's the big boogeyman. Probably controlled opposition to make everybody think that all the manosphere is, hateful content, which we know that's not true. Not at all. Most of it. That's an offshoot. Most of it is just supportive of men and wondering why some people, about half the population, does not accept accountability. And I know this is gold digger tests, but all of that is relevant because men are figuring it all out. They're totally figuring it out. And the ladies just can't cope fast enough. You know that. She wants treat ball time. That's when she gets her treats in a ball and gets to bat the ball around and then treats come out of the ball. Yes, I'm talking about it. I did put treats up on the couch for her before I started recording, but I was having technical difficulties setting up, so she already got the treats and then got down. Hopefully tomorrow during Fairy Tale, I can get her to make an appearance. But, she's quick with the pepperonis. So, yeah, this claim that they're only after 10% of the men. It's just a claim, right? True, can't possibly true. We're sugar and spice and all things nice. Got to remember that. Man bad, woman good. Quote, this rise of, just making sure, okay. This rise of gold digger tests. Oh, I already read that. Sorry. This baseless theory, popularized by Andrew Tate and his followers, encourages men to be suspicious of women's intentions, leading them to test financial expectations by making women pay for dates. How dare you make women pay for dates? How awful. Men have been paying dates since dating started. But now women have to pay for dates? And it's some kind of, I can't even think of the word. It's some kind of attack on them. Do they hear themselves? We want everything equal, except the things where we have to sacrifice anything, paying for dates, the draft, just to name a couple on the grand scale and on the tiny scale. Like we want all the things and work. We want to work. We want climate controlled work. We want work where we feel fancy and looked up to and stuff, but we're not out on the oil rig. We're not being a mechanic. We're not like the other day. It's really hot here. The other day, there was the AT&T, excuse me, the AT&T people, and they were fixing a line that had fallen down. And who was it? It was men. It was a man up in that little thing that goes up, like crane with the little box in it, and he's up there fixing it. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what? It's so hot outside and he's doing it. The women don't want that privilege. And it's just, oh, how dare you make me pay for dinner? I can't believe they say these things out loud. Like, aren't you embarrassed? Like, this doesn't make you look good for all the virtue signaling that we do. How come we don't realize like what this makes us look like? Well, it makes us look like exactly what we are. You freak out about having to pay for a bill. However, we've been expecting men to do it for like 100 years, 75 years. It's as when dating began. We want everything equal. And now that the men are like, these generations are figuring out, the boomer generation didn't figure it out, that they've got all the benefits of being equal, but none of the sacrifices, none of the hardships, not even close. And paying for dinner is what is just too much. Okay. Making women pay for dates or lying about their jobs to see if they stay interested. Yeah. Tell them you get paid minimum wage and see if they're still interested in you. I think that's a great idea. And again, why would this be a problem? It's only a problem if you do have nefarious intentions as a woman. Otherwise, you're like, yeah, I get it. I understand why you would say that, because you should protect yourself. If you're not a gold digger, that's something you would say. You'd say, yeah, that's really smart, because there's a lot of women out here that would weed them out. And that's what the reaction would be if she's in fact not a gold digger. If she's angry that you hid what job you did, or you wanted her to pay for her frozen yogurt, or you just paid for yours. And if she gets angry or whatever about you tricking her like that, then she is just given away. Even if she pays for the yogurt or pays for the date, if she has a problem with it, she's revealed herself, even if she pays for it. So passive aggressive, just not talking to you when you sit down to eat the frozen yogurt, tells you everything. Don't continue to date her. Oh, I know you have to veto so many of them. But yeah, because we are needles in a needle stack. So this is worsened by increasing rhetoric online and politically advocating to return to traditional gender roles, especially in modern heterosexual relationships. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Why can't we? Why can't we advocate for that? What's so wrong with that? Especially if there are women that are starting to come out and advocate for that. They don't like it. The elites don't like it, because you know what that leads to? Family. Leads to patriarchy, which is a good thing. And you know what becomes obsolete when families are strong, therefore communities are strong, male leadership within the family is strong, and those people look to God? What becomes more obsolete and less controlling and important and all that? The state. Georgina believes dating app culture also plays a role. Everything plays a role except women. We're great. We do everything right. It's not our fault. Quote, I'd estimate some men go on multiple dates a week with different women, and it adds up. Only the top 10%. Most men are invisible. These women have no idea. The days of dating slowly and investing time in one person are almost gone. So even if a guy earns well, it's hundreds of dollars a week if he pays for every date, she says. Yeah, it is. But once again, the men who can afford that and can have the option of dating a bunch of different women, that's the top 10% of men. Most men are invisible. Most men, get rejected. So she's proving that point just in what she's saying. And with the cost of living rising, some men simply aren't willing to cover every bill. Not aren't able, aren't willing. Again, it's a slight attack on your character. The Choosy Swipe Right report supports this and found Australians aged 18 to 49 spend an average of $158 per date, with men estimating $233 and women $101. Imagine the other way around. They'd be shaking their signs and wearing their disgusting pink hats. Nearly 3 in 4, 74%, agree dating has become much more expensive than before. Right. It's, the cost of living, inflation, whatever, but it's also, could half of us have crazy high expectations? Maybe. I don't know. Despite these pressures, Miss Rafe warns that financial tests are manipulative and damage trust. So does gold digging. Quote, I think it increases trust. Hold on a second. I actually think it increases trust. Because if he does that and you go, yeah, I get it. You should. You totally should. And you have a laugh about it. Now you're like on the same page and he's tested you. You said, I'm glad you did. The trust goes up. Unless one of you is not on the same page, so to speak. Quote, these behaviors encourage lying and dominance from the very start, she says. Well, she's not strong and independent enough. Quote, when one person sets a trap to see if the other will pass, they establish distrust that undermines emotional intimacy and connection. She emphasizes that healthy relationships are built on open communication, which these tests can undermine. Oh my gosh, come on, girl. Women have been testing men since forever. We do. We just do. Come on, ladies. Always. Always. The men start doing it and have a hissy fit. It's funny. It's funny. They're making fools of themselves. Like, I love that the guys are onto them. It's so satisfying, actually. And the hissy fit is satisfying. She emphasizes that healthy relationships are built on open communication, right? Which the tests can undermine. Said that already. There are healthier ways to navigate financial expectations, she explains. Okay, let's learn. Let's see how the women would do it. Such as asking about hobbies, lifestyle, travel plans, values, and how each person prefers to handle bills and shared expenses. Right? Right. But I think sort of the surprise of, okay, now she has to pay a bill, that's harder to fake because she's like caught off guard, right? If you're sitting down, you're having this conversation, well, what do you think? She's going to say, I think that things should be fair, and I think that we should split expenses and, work together. And she's going to say all those things. And he's going to think, yeah, okay, she's got a good head on her shoulders. But if you do sort of a surprise, you pay for your yogurt and see what she does when she has to pay for hers, you get a better glimpse into what she really believes than sitting down and having this conversation. It's so much easier to misrepresent yourself in a situation like that. So I get it. I get why they're doing it. Travel plans, all that crap. Talk about hobbies. That's not going to help anything. Quote, these conversations give a clearer picture of someone's expectations without manipulation or testing, she notes. Excuse me, these are my papers, and I would rather you not reorganize them. But also encourages self-reflection. If you have concerns about expectations or motives in dating, explore them through therapy or journaling to understand where your views on status and money come from and what a healthy relationship looks like. That's right, men. Make sure you handle it like a woman would. That's how you're supposed to deal with things. From kindergarten to relationships, everything, you will see a theme where women and some men, honestly, like counselors and stuff, they're constantly lecturing you to handle things the way a woman would. You should do journaling. Explore. This is just not the way a man's brain works. It goes on. Quote, when discussing these topics, share your vulnerabilities rather than projecting insecurities onto your date. That's not what they're doing. If you find yourself, quote, testing someone's motives before even meeting, she says you should reflect on whether this suspicion comes from your own experience or unreliable sources. Maybe it comes from both. Maybe these women should check out the manosphere and see what these men have been through, story after story after story. From Gen Z to boomers, divorce, dates, broken hearts, rejection, being invisible, being mocked, false accusations. Ladies, there's a reason the men are doing this. There's a reason they're acting this way, and it isn't because they're bad. It isn't because they're evil or mean or anything like that. It isn't that. It's self-preservation. It's exactly that. It's self-preservation. And it is based on their experiences. And finally, the men have realized that they're not the only one who's had these experiences. The internet has given them an outlet to see that they're not alone. Millions and millions of them have had similar experiences. And thank God, because for so long, you guys really thought I'm the only one. And there's still men out there who believe some of this and think this is the scary manosphere, right? Where we're all just in here being hateful and stuff like that. And they don't realize, no, we're talking about real things that have happened to real men who have hearts and dreams and hopes and all those things. Not in the way that women have them, but in their own way. And those ways are valid. But rather than that be recognized, they're being accused of being monsters, where we can't have this conversation without them trying to just shut it down before it even starts. And once again, what does that reveal about the people that are pushing this narrative? A lot. If you find yourself testing someone's motives before even meeting, right? And if you've been on a date where someone set a dishonest test or trap, see it as a sign of their emotional immaturity and inability to communicate openly and move on. No. No. If you're offended If she moves on after that, good riddance, because she had bad intentions and she was going to take advantage of you. A woman who's not going to take advantage of you is not going to be offended by one of those tests at all. She's going to be glad you did it, because if she cares about you or if she cares about men, she doesn't want them taken advantage of. She sees that women have asked for equality and yet reject it. So I would say if you're going to do that test, you don't just want to look for the woman who does pay or doesn't yell or whatever. You want to look for the woman that supports that you did it and can openly discuss what our nature is. I know some of you were like, well, that's ridiculous. I'll never find that. Exactly. Veto, veto, veto. You got to veto most of them. You might veto all of them. You're not going to find a bunch of them that you can trust because they're just not out there. So test, test, test. If you're determined to swim with the sharks, you better know what you're doing and know that the sharks are sharks. So just me having to, do an analogy about sharks. It's like, because I don't want to say things that the YouTube robots are going to detect, because then they're less likely to send it out there. And you might say, yeah, right. Well, there are lots of, influencers and podcasts that have lots and lots of, views and subscribers and stuff like that. Yeah. But there's one thing that I talk about that most of them don't. I don't talk about, let's go back to the 1950s. I talk about, boy, the Industrial Revolution might not have been a good thing because it pulled men out of, the agrarian situation where everybody was on the family farm and all contributed in an immense way. So that's partly why they don't want my content out there. And I also call out the state. So it makes me dangerous. I have dangerous speech. So on that note, hit the like button on this video. It helps send it out, because at the end of the day, YouTube likes to make money, and the more people that see it, the more YouTube makes money. So stick it to them by hitting the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check your subscription, because YouTube's doing some funny business. I've heard from other creators that they're unsubscribing people. They're definitely not notifying people. So hit that notification bell again to get notified when I upload a video Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 o'clock. Sometimes bonus videos during the day. But hit that notification bell and check to make sure you're still subscribed. Ooh, thunder. Did you guys hear that? Anyway, I like the thunderstorm. I hope you guys have had a wonderful day. I'm very thankful for all of you. All of you guys in the chat, regulars. Big shout out to D.A. Davis for all your support. Sharing the shop link and the link to Rumble, and posting so much in Facebook and on X. I just want to call you out separately and say thank you. I'm thankful for all of you, but D.A. Davis, thanks. I hope everybody protects their peace today. I hope you feed your souls. And I love you guys. And I'll see you on the next one.